Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Auf die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I mean, I guess this Kelly calls Mike fucking Kilby. Mike, how are you coming from Tag Festival?
I'm good. I'm completely healthy. I skipped all of the horrible Oberhausen flu, which normally comes around, and yeah, I've been fighting fit for a week. Lovely.
Yeah, I wish I was so lucky. It's probably still my voice, but yeah, I think there's a few people came with headaches and what have you, which we used to get back pre-COVID days, but now in the world we're in, everyone, we come away from a big festival like that with headaches and coughs. The first thing everyone goes to is, crap, where's we're any spare COVID tests left? That kind of thing. But yeah, so far all those come back negative and mostly alphas. But yeah, so 2 weeks ago we were sweating our asses off in Gelsenkirchen.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Drop a dress
complete
size in 2
1H1.
hours.
It's like now anyway. But yeah, so we're not going to go through all the shows match by match because one, we've got reviews on backbodydrop.com, but two, you can watch them in free. You'd probably switch off straight away if you haven't already. So we're going to go through pretty much show by show, a few takeaways, obviously results, but yeah,
We're looking more at the narrative, I think, more than the bell to bell.
And I think it's the kind of thing like, this was, I know Tass was really keen to push this as the first, true festival since COVID. Obviously, Carrot had much bigger crowds, but everyone was in masked and I don't say muffled, but obviously not as enthusiastic as he probably would have been. Base, Turbine Hall, kind of like the good old days, I guess, in terms of no restrictions. Obviously you had to wear masks on public transport, but you didn't have to be masked up. You could mill around, do whatever you wanted, which nice change from Carrot if you weren't keen on masking up.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly right in terms of feeling like the first proper festival. I mean, 16 Karat Gold was an incredibly positive experience, but I also feel like it maybe was too early for that sort of sorry, not wide. It was a bit too early to have an event of that sort of size, and it was ambitious for the time, and it was an excellent weekend. But I feel that this past weekend was back to normal, business as usual, sort of in that sort of sense. So
yeah, you didn't have the nerves. Like, I mean, I know myself and went over in March. I've told the story before. Being stopped more times still in Germany. People stopping me for my COVID paperwork compared to back over here. Like, just seeing still being in the pandemic, whereas everyone else was trying to push out behind. And yeah, this felt a lot more like say business as usual, back to where it was. And hopefully it's onwards and upwards from here. But
yeah, it wasn't really much any different. It wasn't that much different from being at home, really. And I'd say I'd travelled sort of the whole week really in Germany and Austria, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was it felt a bit like being business as usual, except for when you're on a train. Really, that was all it really was.
I guess before we get going, is there anything you want to bring about the Austria show?
Oh yeah, so
podcast
it's not going to.
Things fell through, shall we say?
This is going to be the only coverage that show ever gets. So, so yes, buckle up. Well, no, it was a bought show, so it was it wasn't taped. So this was the first WXW show in Vienna. That was the Friday, the week before Tag Fest. It was bit of a. It was actually, to be honest, the show itself was really good. You can see the results on Cage Match, but they had a little bit of trouble where the Bastards and the Bastards and Allison their car broke down in Bavaria, which meant they couldn't get to Austria.
Place to break down.
So it meant that the car had to be swiveled around a little bit. Thankfully, I mean, Vienna's not far from Hungary, so I don't know if they put the bat signal up and 15 Hungarian wrestlers turned up. I don't know whether that happened. Interesting things, really. Not. It was kind of business as usual. It was. There weren't really any groundbreaking matches. It was perfectly fine. I've been to worse WXW shows in the past than that. and they always tend to be quite a good standard anyway. The only real interesting thing that I would say happened was Ben Toth, or BT, or formerly Justin Wild. If you watched sort of GWF a couple of years back, the the other really hot prospect from Hungary did make his WXW debut on that show. He sort of did a run in to save Peter Tihoni. That was quite interesting. It was really great to see him live. I'd like to see him in WXW more often. I don't know how likely that is going to be. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it was good to see him. Always picking a winner, me. I always thought BT was the one that was going to be the big superstar from Hungary. So, and then it ended up being Tihoni. But yeah, so it was a decent little show. Attendance wasn't that good. It was about 100. I think probably 80 to 110, probably in that sort of range. Nice venue, decent part of town. It was it felt a little bit like being in the Dome. If you've ever been there in Tufnell Park. But yeah, it was it wasn't the best show I've ever been to, but it certainly wasn't the worst show either. It was perfectly fine and a good sort of way to kick off the Tag Fest week. And it was what better place to start a holiday than doing WXW?
And also having a Austrian saying, "What the F are you doing here?"
Yeah, Dreisker was very shocked to see me, which was he was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" The one thing he did do to me, because obviously, if you know me, you know that I was big into the whole Monster Consulting thing when it was a thing, and as were you, I suppose.
I can't remember.
Yeah, and at the end of the sort of Amboss versus Hungarian lads match, they had Dreisker like turns towards me and he does the whole Monster Consulting thump thing, the hand gesture, and then he smashes it like with his anvil thing. So I was like, that's cool. But yeah, it was it was a great show to be at. I say I don't know if they're going to be doing it again and again because it was a bought show. I don't know if the audience is there, to be honest. But yeah, it was worth a trip anyway.
Well, from one new venue to another, so I guess Tag Festival weekend started with the Inner Circle.
A week later.
Say it again, sorry?
A week later.
Yep, just a week later, yeah. And yep, so beforehand, I was one of, I think just myself, Strigger, and Captain Mangy Pants had a brief tour of the new WXW Academy.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, you went in afterwards for the show. It's a fantastic facility. I mean, best way I can describe it's a fully functional gym. You've got all the exercise bikes, the treadmills, weights, and what have you. There's a boxing ring. There's a massive padded area for judo, martial arts training. There's a legit MMA cage. Which best way I can describe this, they called the mini market hall. I want to say it's more like the old cockpit on a bit more, on a wee bit of steroids in terms of you've got the cage on the bottom of ground level.
Yeah.
You've got seating on three sides, just basically just steps, and then obviously standing room behind it. They are looking at being able to run that particular venue, which, as we'll touch on, might solve a problem for heat when it comes to show days.
But they're looking at possibly running out in the main
hall, but the only issue is obviously the MMA cage is there permanently, and
there's a boxing ring, I know.
No, so it's actually like the MMA cage pretty much you come through the front door. I forget what the promotion's called. I know they ran in the what's now the Felix Weber Arena.
It's the GFC, isn't it?
GFC?
Yeah, I think it is. It's German fight. I swear it is.
But whatever.
It's the German MMA Championship.
German MMA Championship, yeah. GMA, that's it.
GMA.
But so basically, what they'd need to do is have them do a traveling show. So the cage would be out, put the wrestling ring in its spot, and then you'd have a pretty good venue because obviously, you can take a ring down, not pretty straightforward, but the cage, I guess, is maybe a bit more work, and obviously their primary tenants, to be Gelsenkirchen, but
it's their house at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And WXW's got, I guess, used to be a squash court just from the markings. I mean, if you've seen in a circle or any photos on there, you know probably have seen some of the stuff that tips it off. But I mean, compared to what we had in Essen, it's night and day.
Yeah, it's obviously it's built for recording. I think I think that was kind of one of the clear sort of first things that needed to be built to show up well on sort of VOD. But yeah, the thing which I think the venue is it's a huge step forward. I always like. I mean, it's a huge step forward, and the academy was already a excellent facility, even if it was sort of a big garage. Um, the sort of kind of on a wider base, I think the thing that's very exciting is I think they've the old WXW Academy was it was exciting because people knew that they needed to go there to be that's the best place to train in Europe because there's just no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Now what they've done is that they've brought effectively wrestling into in other areas, like another basically basically the combat the hot combat sports talents of Germany, or at least that part of Germany, all will go to Alma Park, and they've then parked their shop in the middle of that. So for me, the exciting thing is that there's going to be people, and I say I put this on Twitter already, but there's going to be people who are maybe doing the training, and it gets around to sort of weight cutting season, or maybe the MMA career thing isn't going the way they planned, but there's that noisy corner of the gym which has the shows every now and again, and that's gonna turn heads, and I guarantee it will. And I think in 3 or 4 years, I would honestly be shocked if WXW didn't have a Tom Lawler, Matt Riddle sort of level MMA crossover sort of worker on their shows full time through this academy, because it just makes complete sense.
It's
And
the same place, you just go into a different room in the
yeah,
building for training. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, all it's going to take is say somebody finishing their cardio session in the morning. They're like they poke the head around the corner and they start chatting to rotation or dry screw, and they say, "Come on, pop over on Tuesday evening. We're doing a beginner session." Like, what's that's it's obviously going to happen.
You-
it's
you've got perfect perfect scene for like the cross
yeah,
pollination kind of stuff. And even
and
if it's just so, well, I'll take a few bumps out. No, it's not for me, but you didn't get that. I mean, the old academy in Essen, apparently it's now as a plumber owns it, or a plumber's hiring it out now. Like,
okay.
you weren't getting people going to, with all due respect, Essen Kartenberg,
Well,
finding a place in the middle of nowhere, unless they wanted to be there.
this is probably the first. And it seems weird to say it. This is probably the first wrestling academy in the world that has passing trade.
Yeah,
If
which
that
is a
sort of
hell of
makes
a
sense.
thing to say when you think about it.
It's because there's unless there's another one, unless there's another similar setup somewhere in America that I don't know about. This has to be the first one that has sort of passing trade. And I know that during this show, one of my friends tipped me off that during the show, it was during the
RB Slamovich?
Arbe Slamovich match, I think it was. Somebody popped their head in. One of these girls who was doing the MMA sort of fighting. They popped their head in, and they were like you just couldn't. There was a real like
Like
fire.
a
It
light
was
bulb
like
moment.
they couldn't believe it. And that is say that's the thing that really excites me. And Yeah, wonderful facility. And I loved the old one, but this is night and day.
Yeah,
You can't. It's wonderful, and I sincerely hope it stays there
it's
for as
not
long as it
like
can.
things don't work. I mean, one good thing, which and we'll move on to the shows in a second. So you were there through in a circle as well. Did
Yeah,
you notice on the entranceway there's like a GoPro fixed point of the ring?
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah, so pattern there's something Rob Dreisker mentioned to three of us when we were doing the tour. So that's permanently connected. Well, not permanent, but it's connected to a private YouTube feed.
Yes.
So when we do the training, the guys who are doing the sessions, whatever, can go back up and see how things went. So, it's obviously very famous, infamous, the Anil Marek shoulder injury. They posted a clip on Twitter from, was it the Bulldog when he injured the shoulder? That wasn't set up just for that, but it's being kept for, this is ongoing. So basically, you're training, not only are you getting effectively gym access with the rest of the Fight Club, you're basically getting all of your training sessions recorded so you can go back and pick apart. Was my footwork right? Was this right?
And there's probably an element of,
export.
there's also probably an element of, if you are very new to wrestling and you maybe don't have the match thing under your belt, but you can at least say, well, listen, this is a practice match me and Ilya Bloom did at the academy on Thursday evening.
Yeah.
There's
Kind
at
of like
least, they can at least go, well, Joe, you could probably work a rumble. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing.
If you have a key takeaway from the new place, it's bloody hot. I mean,
oh, it's worse than the cockpit.
So for shows, I mean, if you've obviously seen the photos and you've seen the trailer of the full show itself, so they've got a banner on the two side walls and one on the back wall to cover the windows so it looks good on hard cam.
Yeah.
Problem is, you can't open those windows without peeling back the banner, which doesn't look good on the hard cam. Close the side door so you don't get the the guys training, judo, whatever it is outside leaking in. Add in 100 fans, and I've never sweated so much my eyes have stung.
Yeah, it's very unpleasant.
I know Tass was saying he's got like a smartwatch on. Like refereed thinks the first 5 matches of the show. I think he said by match 5 his heart rate was in 180s.
Oh Christ, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, so I mean, they know it's an issue. Frankly, we're coming into the colder months, but if they do run a big show in the summer, I ain't doing in a circle then. Just like health and safety.
I think my advice for anybody going is like
shorts.
get some Ahura tearaway trousers. Like wear shorts or at least cotton trousers or something, because you're going to be really uncomfortable if you turn up in jeans. You're going to be melting.
I can attest to that, but so get on for Inner Circle 12. So that was pretty decent show to get going. The only thing they announced was Fumino Yabe, Masha Slamovich. 10 minutes, and coming up with show, Bad was setting a really high bar match for weekend. I mean, it got beaten, but my God, those 10 minutes was everything people had built up and more.
Yeah, 100%. It was, I think, everything we expected, if not more. And as I say, we mentioned about it sort of blowing away sort of somebody who isn't sort of wrestling pilled like we are. Brilliant match, really hard hitting as you'd expect. It was a obviously they'd had the shows there before. They'd had the one during sort of the end of the summer, but this felt like the christening match for this new venue. If that makes sort of sense. Yeah. So that was cracking match.
I guess two of the big takeaways from the show was Killer Kelly's return to WXW here. Tag match against with Shaz McKenzie against Eva and Ava. Tandem you'll see a lot of this weekend. And main event, Shikahiro Irie nearly killed us all in the corner before he beat Peter Tahani, which, fun fact, so there's a clip it's been doing the rounds says, but I give everything a count. The Cannonball Irie did it to Peter Tahani in the ropes, and he hooked his leg on the rope with the idea of being a bit more, force behind it. Except he went through the ropes and the poor aim nearly got crushed with that. First time Irie did the move, which might have been a hell of an end to our weekends.
It would have been funny, wouldn't it? The other one I thought was quite funny was the other moment, let's say close calls with Danger. You didn't see this, but during Ilya Bloom's entrance, he sort of comes through the curtain like with a big punch, doesn't he? He comes through with this punch and he nearly bloody knocks out Lawson. And when I say there was an inch, if not that, there was a there was a cigarette paper Rizzler between him and hitting basically planting Alfie Fresse on Lawson's
Oh my god!
Fresse. It was that was so you might have to watch that. I don't know if they've got the entrance on there on the.
They did
on the
include
service.
the entrance on the on demand.
Yeah, I would say try and watch that entrance again, and you'll see something funny.
Let me. I'll try and load this up while we move on to the next
That's something
show.
to watch later. Yeah, but it's
Um,
watch
so
out Ilya Bloom's entrance.
yeah, nearly killing a guy in his entrance, which again, another way to end your first day of the weekend. But moved to Oberhausen for the first of 6 shows in 3 days.
Yeah,
And of course, it's been Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so we started with a matinee show. Femme Fatale returned, and both our picks just completely blown out. No, in the semis, I mean, my pick went out in the first round. So shows what I know, some expert I am.
well, yeah, our final was both out by the second round, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So interesting booking, I think this show. For me, it was a bit of a strange one. We're going to go through the show, aren't we? Anyway, so
Yeah, I guess some results are out. So Alice Inc. made a debut, she ran the field. And I guess on paper, this is the whole example of get somebody new, give her a killer finish. She won all 3 matches with a roundhouse kick. So they
yeah,
established a big finish. I think they're calling the Scandinavian tail or something like that, of a dragon's tail. Um, so we've done that. I just think when you had this first show of the weekend, you had Killer Kelly. Everyone was looking for her to have a big return. You know,
yeah,
you had your Masha Slamovich who impressed early in the summer. Your Orshis, even want to go down to like Eva Kolaski, previous champions, Ava Everett, and
yeah,
then to have a newcomer come in. I could see why some of the crowd maybe weren't so keen on it, especially the fact they gave a title shot late in the weekend, so either way could have been done either way. But it was a bold move, I'll say that. Taking somebody from literal scratch, not so much even being on a co-pro show before with the Rex W to literal rocket strapping with them.
yeah. That was I feel like this was one of the suspect sort of decisions of the weekend. One of them, but it was the thing which kind of shocked me more than that was obviously Orshi out first round, and I don't really understand why. Um, I think you could have there didn't seem to be a story being told, especially against um, Anastasia Bardo was the person who beat her first round,
I
and
think the
then she lost.
storyline they were telling, much least on commentary, was, oh, she's inexperienced. I mean, remember, she's still within her rookie year, as best I
Yeah,
can tell.
is Bardo that much more experienced?
Um, well, I did the cage match. The name had been around a little bit longer, yeah. Right. So the story we're telling with Orshi was, she did the spear. She, kept trying to go for jackhammer. That was her undoing.
Yeah,
So they're still telling the story of she's not been around that long. She's learning the hard way. Yeah, Anastasia Bardot debuted December 2017, according to Cage Match.
yeah,
So yeah, a few more years, but again, Cage Match, especially for I'd say France, maybe not 100% in terms of coverage, but yeah, I guess
yeah,
we're definitely playing the long game, Vosh. Like this is kind of we said before, this was kind of what they wanted to do with Oscar. Then obviously other things
yeah,
prevailed. This is the long game they're playing because, and again, this isn't a slight on the entire women's division in WXW, but if do the who's in WWE who like got the same kind of treatment, Gail Kim years back,
yeah.
night one, no, no, wins the title, then what?
Oh yeah, I suppose that would have been the easy. I suppose or she getting to the final would have been the easy thing to do. I suppose in that sort of sense, yeah, you're right. Um, it's yeah, it's
I mean, like I say, it was a
yeah,
bold move. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily have done it, especially now because no, we'll cover later in the weekend. Obviously, Alice cashing a title shot, won the title, but now it's not any shows till November. It's like, granted, it's only 2 or 3 shows, but you've now also left yourselves without a women's champion to be on your shows.
Yeah.
So no, that was for Femme Fatale. Obviously, the other big thing on that show, Baby Allison finally pinned Calypso and also beat Amal in the freeway to retain the women's title. Amal wasn't on any other shows this weekend, but I don't know, to me, after that, they seemed to be doing the whole Amal frustrated she didn't win a belt back at the first shot. There was that whole, Allison posing next to her for belt, and then, Allison lose the belt the next day. So I don't know if that's something they're going to go back to, maybe the Carrot. Because we said going in, not a lot of extra renames around this, and those who were in and out same day.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think I don't really know what's really was happening with Alison really this weekend. It didn't seem to. I feel it felt like a lot of the progress she had made seemed to have gone back a little bit this past weekend. I don't really know why. Yeah, I think the thing with the top world title, the women's title match, I feel like it was Alison was the least likely person to come out of it with the belt, and it was the one who came out with the belt. So, yeah, I weren't sure what was going on with that either, to be honest.
So we'll jump in on this because WXW's we were recording this have announced the second name for 16 Karat Gold weekend. Davey Richards.
Oh, okay. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can obviously touch on the first entrant who was confirmed over Tag Festival weekend, but Davey Richards, 2011 he's in the semi-finals of Carat, so 12 years on, obviously looking to go a step further.
Yeah, and that's a sort of because he's had a bit of a
indie scene.
He's had a bit of a career revival really in the last couple of years, hasn't he? Because he kind of fell off a bit, didn't he?
So he retired, and then he retired to quote live a normal life, and he's come back. He's had a pretty good runs on matches I've seen.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know there's that instance where he no-showed, or I'll say no-showed with as in advertising didn't appear, but what happened was he was like an incident day job where he needed to get tested, wasn't potentially exposing other people. But unfortunately, past reputation precedes. But yeah, an absolutely fantastic guest. I mean, I've seen Davey Richards. It's not been since he was an Impact live. That is.
He's a new one for me.
So yeah, that's a pretty strong start. But so move on to night one of Tag Festival. And I guess this one where the main event was Mike Bailey, Bobby Guns for the title shot, but just going through the undercard, I don't think it was the main one that jumped out. Amboss against RB Nuyé was probably the best of the tag matches that evening.
Yeah, I think that was the best tournament match for sure. The one I thought was a bit of a I really enjoyed it was Tihani versus Lawrence Roman. I thought was a very was a bit of a sleeper hit.
Phone match, yeah.
That was a bit of a sleeper hit for me this weekend, and it was good on sort of the rewatch as well. I don't know if it's not going to be troubling anybody's end of year lists, but I thought that was great, that one. I think the bit of the a blowout of a match was the Heisenberg Simmons street fight. I think that was a bit of a dud.
So I mean, and again, obviously, what happened the next day, kind of unpicked this, but there's people around where I was sitting generally thought that was Yearn on his way out, just how definitive that finish was.
Yeah,
drawn pins, the slam onto the pins, like it wasn't like say a complete squash, but just how for street fight was no run-ins. This was designed to get Heisenberg over the hill.
yeah.
Where people legitimately thought Yearn was done.
Yeah, and I think it's entirely possible. I completely understand why you would possibly think that. I personally, well, later events reveal that it isn't. But it's it could have if that had been the end, it would have been a very disappointing way to end it, really.
Yeah.
I think there's been a bit of a habit over the recent years to have one of these big sort of wild brawl matches on one of the big festival weekenders, and they've just I don't think they've ever really landed that well. I'm thinking of the street fight that Dreisker and Simmons had at Carrot a few years
Yeah,
back.
the false count everywhere with the pre-tape stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like that wasn't really a success, really, and it's almost like I don't know, just felt like it didn't really fit in. But yeah, it was it's not it was a bit of a dud for me, really, and I don't know whether it is the end though. So there's there could be more to it. I mean, there was further implications from an event on the next day, which we'll talk about in a bit, but which suggests to me that it's not over, or at least Simmons isn't done. So yeah, that was a bit of a dud for me.
I guess you have a story out of night one of Tagfest. Pretty Bastards won their first match, and then who were pissed off to a wedding. So that
Yes.
meant because again, no, they didn't put much out on social media. German was have to find a partner. Ended up being a handicap match the next day, which kind of point to a certain result. But we'll get to that. But first show of day 2 was Wheel of Wrestling 36. Axeman versus Barbo, headline Metahan against Axel Tischer. Both pretty decent main event. I would say both the reactions.
Very dry.
Yes. Like, I know we built the whole, we did visit Carrot 2020 and we couldn't do the storyline. Now we're doing this. This could have done with an angle beforehand, or at least, and again, they didn't do any shows for the month between Shortcut and this. If they had, there probably should have been some kind of angle or something to give this spice, because they tried with the video package, but to me, it just didn't seem to click well.
Yeah, I felt like the sort of the placing around that show was just all over the place. Really, I feel like they they put the break in the wrong place, and then they had to the first half was a bit of a drag, I thought, and then it gets to sort of you had Guns versus Slamovich, which was really decent.
It's another one of Mash's fun sprints, which it was having all weekend.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that was actually advertised. That they had Guns versus Slamovich. You had Roman versus Hector, which I thought was really, really good. Hector's only appearance of the weekend as well, shockingly.
Yeah, it's. I guess then, if Dennis Stolnig was around, it would have been a lot different. But sadly, we have to wait.
But then, yeah, Metan and Tissue, it was just very, I don't know, eat your vegetables. I think actually it wasn't really didn't really do very much for me at all.
Yeah, and I know the story of the plane coming out of it is, Metahan's back to collect some bills or what have you, which you've got to think they're doing him and Bobby Guns, based on the Shotgun 2020 stuff that they never got to play out.
Yeah.
Which, again, I don't know how many people actually watched that, but it was a fun storyline. But a lot of, like we say, a lot of wrestling's happened since then. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they actually do, because I don't think he's working all dates.
He's working quite a few dates though.
I've seen he's on the show.
He's working like about 3 or 4. He's working about 4 or 5 shows before Christmas.
So I see he's on the Dresden show next weekend, but not Bielefeld tomorrow. But again, I have also seen he's picking up random promotions like GWP. He's working last weekend, which only seems like 2-3 shows a year.
Yeah,
but
I think they pay quite well. So yeah, he's working. He's working all over the place, isn't he, at the moment? So he's not. Isn't he doing? He's doing. Isn't he doing TNT soon as well?
Yeah, I'd not be surprised if Progress picks him up again over here.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're starting to book him before everything happens. So, Elsewhere, at Wheel of Wrestling 36, Jörn Simmons had a quick comeback match, squashing Nick Schreier in 3 minutes.
Yeah, that
Bob
was
Guns
great.
Masha Slamovich, 9:15. Absolutely cracking match. And again, I mean, I said this in reviews. Masha for me was a low-key MVP of the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with it. I think everything she did was really good. There was, and I say going into, well, we've mentioned it already, but her being in Carrot is very exciting, especially sort of it's going to be a lot more single stuff for her.
And I'd say, like, the 2 matches we've already covered, but this speaks a lot for if you can do a match in 10 minutes and make it great, no need to make it 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, 100%. They were all like, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, like in and out. That's all you need for them sort of things.
And then also Margaret retaining the Shotgun title in a 4-way. And I think the main bit this was storyline, Norman Harris booking him to piss him off like we've been doing on and off. I guess the other thing we should mention, which we kind of skipped over night one, storyline would run throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah,
Norman Harris and Levaniel. So going in, Levaniel won shortcut at the top. I guess tradition was he would have had a title shot this weekend, but he got injured at the hands of Tristan Archer. Week of Tag Festival, Levaniel declared he was fit, turned up on
yeah,
night one, and basically Norman Harris said, you're not fit, you're not good enough. You can have a match against someone who's more your level, Jacob Crane, which Jacob Crane's never won in WXW, so it was a bit of a kicking to the teeth.
yeah.
Had it on this Wheel of Wrestling show, and Harris had Joe Keys, Santa Caballero, the Rico Boys, there was his hide muscle, wheeling down the stage, helping down steps and what have you. Since Norman has a knee injury, but needs a wheelchair, allegedly. But so yeah, so they cost him. Levaniel lost the Wheel of Wrestling, and then was told if you want your title shot, you've got to beat both Keys and Caballero at Tag Festival Night 2.
Yeah.
So I guess it's it's a storyline that kept everything going. Explained why Levaniel wasn't having his title shot being added to the match on night 2, but yeah, it probably could have been tightened up a bit, but I'm not complaining either way. I'd take a storyline over just matches being thrown out,
Yeah, and it gave Caballero and Keys like a bit of juice over the weekend as well, because you know, let's face it, they were just two big jacked guys, and then the fact that they had a bit of something to play with throughout the weekend, it was good, and it kind of made me actually enjoy them a lot more, because
Yeah.
I think if all they'd done was the wild card show, it would have been when, oh, okay, that was them guys then.
And we did it in a circle too, but it also was weird. But hey, you've got a tag team here, but they're not in your tag team. What gives?
Yeah, I have a feeling they may have been the standby team, which they always is at
Yeah.
these weekends. So it was
Actually,
like
this
coast to
weekend,
coast a
no
few years.
dropouts.
No dropouts. Yeah, the curse was lifted, I think, this weekend.
So whatever gods they've prayed to, keep at it, guys, because it's worked. But moved to night 2 of Tag Festival, and it's only one place to start. We
Yeah.
all had this match circled in our big preview sheets. Of course, I'm talking about Sensible. No, I'm not. Funo Yabe, Shikahiro Irie, Kevin Koo, Dominic Guarini, 15 minutes, and my God, this is going to be right up there on people's match of the year ballots.
Oh, it has to be. I think it could be one of the best 15-minute matches of the of the decade. I think it's absolutely superb. One of the all-time classic WXW matches. I feel like I can't think of much better than that in a big weekender.
Hot
And
crowd from the start. I mean, the anticipation helped, but those
yeah,
headbutts, and
yeah,
that headbutt. I'm not going to go down the whole safety police thing.
yeah.
You've got we in the age where we know what concussions are, we know the damage we do. I would not be. I've not replayed it enough to look and see if it was worked. I don't want to know my sausages made. Thank you. But the fact that just watching back the GIF and video I posted, Shooter Schultz, his reaction to that headbutt was, I think, in line with the rest of us.
Yeah, I didn't realize what had happened, to be honest. And then he kind of did the whole looking up with the blood, and I was basically dead in bed, dead across from him. And then I was like, "Oh God!" And I I didn't realize I was as bad with that sort of thing as I was. Um, yeah, absolutely astonishing. It's it's
It's
a
made a
must
nice T-shirt
watch.
for Kevin.
Sorry.
It's made a hell of a T-shirt for Kevin.
Well, yeah, that's made Kevin Koo in WXW for
Yeah.
life. He will always have that. Um, and yeah, as I say, I can't think of much better than that in WXW. I think have to be going back to some of the ring camp tags or, Phoenix Walter, that sort of level
I mean,
before
even
you
for tag
find
matches,
anything as
maybe
good
even
as
as
that.
far back as the Outsiders in Hamburg.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that sort of level, but that's well, yeah, it's good. It's in good company. I think it's one of it, for me. It's one of the best live WXW matches I've seen. It's definitely in the top 5 for me. So absolutely sensational that was.
So if you haven't seen it, get your WXW Now subscription and start at night 2, no excuses.
Yeah,
After that,
exactly.
Rotten Flot out-cheated Amboss. Um, Short match, so didn't outstay its welcome. Rotten Flot
You
has been on and off doing the whole, being super sneaky to win. And no, if Amboss are going to handcuff you on the post and you're a legal man and you're going to crawl in and beat the count while they're looking the other way, I've got
see,
no problem with that.
yeah. I was about to say you was on the same side as the thing. I couldn't remember what side of the ring you was, but you was right next to it, so you obviously saw what was happening, didn't you?
Yeah,
But
Dominic
the
and
moment
Kevin in
everybody
my seat
realised,
every freaking night of this bloody weekend.
yeah, the moment everybody realised was, it was just, yeah, that was very special, very special indeed. I can't, yeah, just tie it. It was just it was the everybody realised what was happening at exactly the same time. So obviously, Charisma sort of they're Amboss are battering Schenkenberg outside the
Yeah,
ring.
it's like the full Nelson popped up into space, so that was Icarus, Dreisker,
Yeah,
and Schinkenberg all wiped out the back end of that side of the arena.
and then Charisma just slides himself in sort of through the corner. Absolutely brilliant, um, and really clever. I can't think of I've ever seen anything like that before. But
I know they've done something very similar, but not to win. So
yeah.
this is no, it's Eddie Guerrero level stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. If that,
Which
if Los Carreras could have pulled something like that out in 2003, and we'd be remembering it for the rest of our
yeah,
lives. So
and what I
yeah,
say is it
pretty good.
made the crowd cheer Rotten Flot, which
Well, yeah,
it
it
had
very
to.
nearly babyfaced them, really, didn't it?
Yeah. And
Um,
of course, that went back the other way on final night, but we'll get there when we get there. Sanity beat Maggot just under 8 minutes. Typical handicap match, kind
I
of
thought
set.
we might have got Ahura run in a dress shirt and dress shoes, but we didn't.
Next night near enough, but yeah, set up all this dissension between the Pretty Bastards and Baby Allison. Uh, Last tag match of the night, Sense of Ultra Eagle Blanco over CDK. Had Villavaniel beating the Bariqua Boys stuff. Then Alice Inc. beating Baby Allison in under 3 minutes from the women's title. And I guess this was playing heavily off of Baby Allison being completely out of sorts of everything going on. But she slipped doing her, the crab walk pose on the stage.
Yeah,
Um, Again, this is them being super bold with this booking. I probably wouldn't have done it, but
no,
again, if you I also see, if you're picking someone to take from the ground up, it's a weekend to do it on, but I really don't think this would be a weekend to do it.
yeah. Although I think it's that they've WWE's been bold, I think, with their title changes over the last couple of marquee events. They've been very bold with them, and I think mostly it's paid off. Obviously, Archer's sort of as the title change for Archer was obviously a decision which I think kind of unanimously, I think a lot of us were like, I'm not sure about that.
And then he's come into his own since, and
Yeah,
gets
so
bleeding
I
the
don't
main
know.
event.
I think it's very easy to be what the hell are they doing with Alice? Because let's face it, 95% of the crowd don't know who she is,
Yeah,
and I include myself. I don't watch
I'd heard
Body
of her
Slam as
name.
much
That
as
was
I'd
about
like
it.
to. Yeah, I've seen her before, but I mean, I've seen her before, but I've seen a lot of people before.
Especially
I
this
think
weekend.
it's worth giving it just a bit of time. She needs to. It's just how she gets over with the smaller shows. Really, I
Yep.
find you can be over in Oberhausen and come out to crickets in Hamburg. That's the way it is. So,
We're not talking about Psycho Mike here, are we, Mike?
sorry, sorry.
We're not talking about Psycho Mike here, are we?
Well,
Guy
yeah,
who loses to a dog.
it's not just Psycho Mike who's had that problem.
Yeah, probably more recent example.
Yeah,
And also, if he comes back over for Carrot and there's any four-legged animals around, we know what they're doing. What's that? What was Dreisk's dog called?
the monster consulting dog was Branko, but I don't know if that's the one you mean.
No, oh God, and you can hear. I'm sorry, guys, you can hear a lot of keyboard
Oh,
clacking.
the little bulldog thing.
Yeah, on the shotgun shows.
Yeah, I've not seen him for a while.
So he's
Huh.
part of the Academy Brawl with
Yes, he was, wasn't
Paris.
he? I'd completely forgotten about that. Sorry, I thought you meant Branko as in the monster consulting dog.
Oh, Blank would easily beat Psycho Mike.
He'd eat Psycho Mike, I think.
Oh, come on, Mike.
Yeah, main event.
Yeah, so yeah, Tristan Archer over Speedball Mike Bailey. Whole thing of this match was, of course, Speedball coming in with an injured knee from the night before, and of course Archer was going to pick at that. And I'll say, we just said Archer came in, with title in a Carrot. There's a lot of are we sure about that?
Yeah.
He's really coming into his own now as champion. Well,
Yeah, and I very much feel like I don't know. There's Archer is doing well. He's had some very. I think you can't say he's had bad matches for the title. That's not something he's had. Um, everything he's done in this reign has been good. I think it's been at a decent level. Um, I honestly thought Speedball. This was maybe the time to give Speedball the run because I feel like he deserves it in WXW. He's here enough. I don't know what the politics are with that, with maybe Impact. I don't know, but especially with a show in Canada in a month's time from recording, I'm kind of surprised he didn't get the belt and they did a match in Canada for WXW. But that's sort of beside the point. This match I thought was all right. It wasn't Speedball's best of the weekend, but I think overall it was perfectly fine. It was, and I think the way that I think the history book is going to look back on Tristan Archer is it's the he's had going to have had pretty decent matches during his reign, and he's beaten proper pucker opponents, hasn't he?
yeah, we've not been softball opponents by any
No,
stretch of the imagination.
he's not had, and I say, he's not had a marquee event defense against Mike Schwartz, or you know, he's not padded it out with a I don't know Senza Volto fight,
Yeah,
a title defense. It's been, he's had Arbe, he's had Tisha, he's had Simmons, he's had all these people, and it's he's had Bailey as well now, and it's all been
it's
very
building up
very
that
strong
CV,
opponents.
and I think again a lot of people, were very the guy was in the Cruiserweight Classic when he won, for the first time. But again, it's the whole.
Well, I don't even think there was even that much really, because I think
I
people
think there's a
knew,
lot of people who hadn't seen him since then, and again
or
because he's
maybe not even realize they were the same person.
yeah, or we've done a lot of stuff on the closed set shows, which let's be fair, a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't see. So it's that whole thing of Tristan Archer. Oh, it's that the guy who ...
Oh,
So
he was.
again,
Yeah.
we come to a year, with shows back, past year with shows in front of fans. So it's that whole stuff where the links have been made between the closed set stuff that people maybe didn't watch, and now building up in front of an audience. and really starting to click for those guys who've been there for the semi-long haul.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it was decent sort of main. It didn't feel like it had the. I feel like there needs to be a real shift before Carrot, because this is Carrot 2023. It's going to be the year next year. 23 is going to be, I think, it's going to be the first big Carrot.
Yeah,
it's going to be the big one, and I think you really need to have something that's going to really sell title night. You know, the night with the championship, which for me is still the biggest night of the Saturday night of Carrot is the biggest night of the year in WXW. You need to have something really, really spicy, and I don't know where that's coming from at the moment. And I really fear it's going to be Levaniel Archer, and it doesn't really sell that to me at all. So.
We'll move on to the Monday matinee show. Man, it's so weird to put like that, but yep, it was Monday morning wrestling, folks, and it was a wildcard edition. So we've had kind of a wildcard shows before where it's been people applying to do the shows. To actually look at your CV, they book you, and so we had basically an absolute whack ton of debuts, and just going back to the whole Robert Dreisker dog thing, Mila,
that's it, yeah.
He says after looking through his shocking 2020 reviews, but so a whole whack ton of debuts. Some of them I think landed, some didn't. Some got really freaking annoying music, which is going to live in my soul until I die. I guess we haven't gone match by match. I was looking forward to O'Shea Edwards. I think he, jumped out. And bear in mind, you had a lot of names I weren't keen on. Well, I won't say weren't keen on. Weren't familiar with. This could have gone either everyone doing 15 minutes back and forth, none of it landing and being an absolute dull show, or you'd have people breaking out and say O'Shea Edwards absolutely broke out against Alex Ryman.
He definitely should come back.
Yeah, now this is not saying Ryman was bad. I think out for two O'Shea, you could tell. No, I mean, did you see his Twitter the day of the show? Like he was tweeting his flight to Germany. It was his Oberhausen McDonald's. Like I think it was the morning of the show. He tweeted a picture of the Oberhausen train station bus stop. I can bloody picture that. Like that's why I was getting the bus into the shows every day.
O'Shea. Well, I mean, O'Shea, he absolutely loved it, and you could tell he loved it as well. He says he's going to be. He says he's going to be at Carrot, and he says if he's not booked, he's going to come and drink beer with us. So
fair enough.
I don't know. I don't know if he will be. I don't know if he'll be fulfilling that promise, but he said he's going to come and drink beer with us if he doesn't get booked. So. Really good.
It's also we had Akira. I mean, you had another big match with Gullius at Inner Circle, beat Steve Payner. Man like Dries, who I'd say probably got over most of the weekend, but I don't know how much of that was because of people already familiar with him.
Yeah, I think he tried to sort of lean into the British crowd that was there. I thought the three-way was the best on the show. Was the best match on the show because I thought Diaz and Izum were both brilliant. I really liked them all.
And shout out to Jared Diaz because I apparently confused him being an Englishman in Germany in a New York Jet shirt. He's on the way out on the Sunday. He pulled us to one side and just said, "I got to know what's the deal with the jersey?" And
that was a great accent, by the way.
Yeah, I'm horrible at accents, but you know what I mean. It wasn't my usual one, so
was he from County Durham?
But I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, I think none of the matches on this card were bad. Again, it was just it was all consistent of like the whole weekend. I think the people who were breaking out was like the personalities more than the in ring. Kevin Lloyd, Thomas Shire, I thought it was a good match, but I will say this: put that in ambition, that is going to hit so much harder.
Yeah.
Because they had a good match, but they started out all ground based, and I don't think anybody's expecting that.
Yeah. That was badly positioned, I felt. I would have if it had been me, I would have put the the three-way on last, and probably would have chucked O'Shea towards the top of the card as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, that was
And then main event, LJ Cleary over Jaden Newman. I think the big thing WXW's pushed about this is LJ's music, which Dennis Birkendall's shared a link to on Spotify, and if you've read my reviews, I've done the Lord's work. You're getting to listen to it as well, because if we've had to sit through it, you do too.
Joe, I didn't get that because I couldn't remember it as I don't remember the song at all. So
I'm not playing, we can get content matched, but
yeah,
I mean, we'll say this anyway. So, like WXW, we said this at the time when they made the switch to the production music, have put a lot more effort into picking tracks than other companies have. Like,
using the same library.
Same music library. So it's not like they had extra tracks to pick from. Violence Forever, so their real music is Cranberries Zombie.
Yep.
Can't play that. I know Progress gave them something completely different. I think there's a music WXW training says I need to listen to the show and see what they gave them. But WXW gave them a song that was so damned close to Zombie, people were singing Zombie to it.
Well, yeah, I think we would have sung that anyway.
Yeah, but it helps the music's that close. So, but obviously LJ uses Ace of Base, Beautiful Life. Can't use that. I know Progress have given them something vaguely familiar, like he's hummed from memory after 10 years. This one was an earworm, and again, I think the fact that we're talking more about music than the matter says something. But main event was fine. I preferred Jaden Newman in this. I think super versatile in the role. Bear in mind, he came in like I guess more people would have known LJ because he's been on the network. For Progress YCW.
Traveling fans who would have known him as well.
Jaden for most ardent people who maybe watch Action, Southern Underground Pro, Scenic City Invitational. I know he's done Beyond Wrestling Open. Maybe not so familiar with him. I think in that match he stole the spotlight, even though he came out on the losing side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although, as I say, I can't watch. I can't watch these people with Oberhausen eyes, in the sense of people who go to the Oberhausen locals who go to these shows. They have completely different views to, I think, us on what is good, and the fact that people were coming out of that show in March and saying Charles Crowley was one of the best things to come to Germany since David Hasselhoff was a bit of a, I don't quite understand that. So, I agree with you on Jaden Newman. I don't, but I've been watching LJ Cleary for 5 years odd. So there's that as well.
So we'll move into the final night. Again, we'll do the tournament stuff last, but so we had 16-carat gold qualification match, Killer Kelly, Masha Slamovich. And I think a lot of people circled that match for maybe a Femme Fatale semi-final, but it's carat qualifier, and Kelly didn't make it to carat, at least in the tournament. Again, it's another really good match from Masha. And so we'll be seeing her in March, all being well.
Fingers crossed. As well, I think we've already pined over sort of how well Slamovich done this weekend, and it was a really good sort of homecoming weekend for Kelly as well. Wasn't really the results I think we were expecting. I was expecting at least a final for Femme Fatales for her this year. This is home for her. It's the place that I think gets her more than anywhere else.
Yep.
But there's obviously she's got. I'd like to think she will be here for carat, but it obviously does sort of. There's weekend. I think there's a big TNA pay-per-view which is probably around that weekend. So whether that's possible, I don't know really. But bit of a shame. I think she always seems to get the short end of. There's always I always feel like they're building with Kelly, and you're never quite there. But I think the day that she does get the big moment is going to be that's going to be the making of her, really. Not that, even though she's kind of made for life, really, in WXW.
Yeah. Other non-tournament stuff, so we had Mike Bailey against Peach Tahani, and So RevPro we saw not too long ago, their 10th anniversary weekend. Speedball had a title match. Then night two was against the big upcoming young star. They repeated that here, and yeah, I'd say this was definitely better than the title match. Because you had the cocky, arrogant SOB Mike Bailey throughout,
Yeah,
trying to get
Fucking
one over
hill.
the young upstart, and my God, it worked.
Yeah, that was really, really good. That it was. These are two people. That was this match. A lot of people were saying, "I hope this happens on the Monday." And when it happened, when as soon as Mike Bailey comes out, we're like, "Well, this is going to be good." Um, yeah, there was never not going to be good. I think this match. I think you've gone 4 on this one.
Yep.
Completely agree with it. Just over 10 minutes. Didn't feel like it. It felt like it was. I think you could have gone another 10, and it would have been brilliant. So really, really good stuff.
And we've said before, Peach, coming out of Carrot, Peach to Honey, we said, oh, put a shotgun title on him. I think it's a case of, getting the dates, but also making it look, it's the Orshi thing, making it not look like, oh, people have reacted strong, well, we'll change plans. His day will
Yeah,
come in. He's obviously had progress bookings, the week before. He did the
yeah,
National Progression series, like qualifying, he wrestled Ricky Knight Jr., which completely different kettle of fish. I could rant about that for a while, but I'm not going to. But so he's definitely getting bookings more across Europe. That's the name you're going to see in 2023. I feel is going to break out big time.
yeah. Well, you want him to do a Mania weekend, really.
Yeah,
That's what you
and
need.
many weekends going to be more back to normal. Even if the Black City don't go over, there ought
Yeah,
to be some serious bookings waiting for him.
yeah,
But we had women's title number one contendership. Eva Klasky, Eva Everett, Michelle Green, Orshi, either one. And what I will say is the sheer pop for Orshi coming out there. I mean, I know it's right by where you guys were, where it was a lot of noise was, but on the tape,
yeah. Loud.
we've said this before, they've got something in there, not putting rocket strap on. They're keeping it kind of adjacent to the whole Amboss stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
this
mean,
is kind of going to be the long term.
yeah, and I think it was just the she put on her Instagram a few days after she put the clip of, and she was like, this she will never forget that. I think she said, and
Yeah.
it's forever in my heart. And yeah, it's she almost got the visual pin almost on this match, didn't she? And then
Yep.
gets thrown out by Ivor, but yeah, really, really. There's something special with Orshi, and I think a lot of people. I kind of made the effort to kind of go around to the people who aren't watching every week, and I was like, Orshi's the one to watch. And yeah, it's I think that I think you still need. I think probably she's going to be in a similar position heading into Carrot, but you'd like to think maybe there will be a nice moment for her there.
And
But
kind of unrelated. Passion Pro, they dropped their last show. She had a match with
yes,
Dry on there. Really good brawl on there as well. So if if you're not signed up to Wexbury now, there's a free match there to go and see. But
yeah,
one thing I will say, mind, since Carrot, she's changed the look and like the whole get up a few times, but none of it's felt forced. So there's still the whole trying to find what the character is. None of it's felt like I'm being ridiculous. Right today, I'm the wrestling plumber. Right now, I'm this. Now I'm that. It's been, it's been minor tweaks, but it hasn't been like, right today, I'm going to do this, and oh crap, that doesn't work. But now it's going to be this.
yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you. It's she's finding her feet, but they're very. It's exciting to see a wrestler in that stage of their career at such a good level.
Yep.
Um, it's yeah, she's just incredibly exciting to sort of see.
And we can blitz through the tag festival stuff. So the big thing going in was everyone was even, anyone could win. So first match, CDK and Pretty Bastards ended in a draw. 20 minutes and I think half hour was me worrying about Prince of Who throwing up over me. He had the whole gimmick of he came back drunk from or hungover from the wedding, had a beer early on, and was doing the whole he's gonna puke, he's gonna puke, being fighting in the bathrooms. Thankfully he didn't for all our sake, but he did get that fun trolley ride down the stage, which he was going to be part of the VIP experience going forward. So obviously that's the Bastards and CDK not making through, so went down to Sens of Alto Igel Blanc over Sanity in, I'd say, semi-final, group match. Block B, Arbin Urie beat Rotten Flot. That meant Rotten Flot couldn't make the finals, but it also meant that Urie and Arbin did not win the tag titles, although they wished they had. And then head-to-head, Icarus and Robert Dreisker over Vances Forever. And because Amboss beat Arbin Urie on night one, that meant they got the finals. And of course, finals was Idle Blanc, Sens of Alto over Amboss in just over 18 minutes with a bit of an interval in between. They did a double count out after about 8 minutes. Everyone brawled in the crowd. Senza and Icarus did a side Russian leg sweep off the apron into the front row, which was absolutely bonkers to watch, and even more so, taking the pictures of it. They restart the match after the whole, well, what do we do? What do we do? Because Norman apparently buggered off early. He'd clocked out early for the weekend. Tag Tornado rules. If you had, ripped off bit of Igel's mask, pulled off Senza's mask. He had Lawrence Roman, who, I'm just going to get myself away. This didn't make the camera, so what the hell? He had the pre-show match with Michael Knight, and do the entrances with go and yell at random fans. He stops at me and yells at me, and my German is not that good to begin with. So I tried to ask the guy next to me, what did he say? Apparently I was sleeping.
What?
I heard him say no, do schlaf. So like okay, I think that means same. Ask the guy next to me. He said, "Oh, you should wake up. You should stop sleeping. You should pay attention." Like, I am very much wide awake. I had a coffee before the show, but so he came up, Peter Honey chased him off, and then the end you had Idol and Senza pinning Icarus. They won with tag titles, and maybe not the team people suspected to win, but at least the final had a bit of storyline going in, since we had the big brawls back at Dead End in Hamburg a few months ago. So at least it wasn't the out of nowhere team winning it.
Yeah, a bit of it was a bit of a shock for me, but I think it would have. I think it would have been very. It would have been very brave to have yet another. At least this was a face winning the tournament thing rather than sort of ending on heel heat, because they've kind of ended on heel heat with Dreisker sort of batter and Gresham after Carrot.
Yeah. We'll have rice pudding sometime.
You can't do it all the time, and I think this was a nice ending. Tagfest isn't a season finale; it's a midpoint. It's a midpoint. So it's an interesting sort of direction to go through. I mean, you could Igla Blanc and Volto, they can do work rate, so you could bring in a guest team sort of for Tagfest or something like that, and they're going to be able to hang with them if they're a bit more wild and thing. I'll be honest, I was doubtful Icarus and Dreisker were going to win, simply because it wouldn't. I don't know. I couldn't see. It would have been very frustrating for them to do the whole we're going to freebird the tag team titles thing. That would have been very frustrating.
Over Icarus, I think that would have been more nailed on. But second Dover went down. I think that's when. I don't know, but I suspect whatever plans we had would have changed that.
Yeah. So I think with that in mind, as a final, really, really good. To be honest, as a final show as a final day, I thought it was a really, really strong show. Night 3. There's at least, let's say, at least 4 or 5 matches on that show, which I think are well worth a sort of a watch if you haven't seen them all anyway. Very, very strong from top to bottom.
Yeah, I think the whole weekend been very consistent. Whatever low points were more storyline driven stuff. And I think the consistency in WXW across the board really high.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
With people tag, and almost a few eyes on. Hopefully this switches into folk going to Carrot based off the back of this, but I say a lot of wrestling to go, a lot of names to be announced, and a lot of winter for people to get through. But so next up, we've got we take a week off, 2 weeks off. Most Mark Shuttle and Schwarzenegger spent. I think they were getting very little sleep, getting all those shows out. What 7 shows, 2 hours, that's 14 VODs. They turned around.
Yep.
Like the Wheel of Wrestling was went out on Thursday, like 3 days before it was meant to. So heck of a turnaround.
Yeah, I
You know,
think he
considering
was
it's
fed
not
up of editing at that point, wasn't he?
considering it's not just the He's Live mix. You've got the dubbing, you've got the subtitles to put in for both feeds. Herculean effort from the entire team, and doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, 100%. It was yeah, it felt because I did see that Katya was around at the weekend as well, so there was obviously that sensible old head there who kind of
Yeah.
know how to do these things, and it was that was really it was a good yeah, I thought it was an excellent effort, really. I think to get it all out when they did.
I mean, it's good. I mean, had a quick catch up on. Yeah, I think it's one of those things you're always going to see folks who've been around, come back, especially these long weekends where it's more than just one show. But yeah, I know, I think a few people had a few concerns. How would they react on these big weekends? And quite well, it turns out. So hopefully it's the same. Come to Carrot next year. But yeah, they're back on the grind tomorrow or today when we drop this show. Wheel of Wrestling in Bielefeld will drop on demand next week. So we've got the French Adors defending the tag titles against Pretty Bastards. Baby Allison against Ava Everett. Vincent Heisenberg and Jörn Simmons being made to team up against Rotten Flot. Tristan Archer against Michael Knight. Lawrence Roman against Danny Frey. Bobby Guns, Nick Schreier, and Robert Dreiser against Ilya Bloom, which not too bad a card. I mean, definitely a few things I'm looking at for storylines, especially
Yeah.
for 2 tag matches.
If you're not already on the train to that show as you listen to this, then you've missed it.
Yeah, just go home, turn around, wait for it to drop on demand back end of this week.
Yeah.
Then a week later, they're heading over to Dresden for Stromberg, October 22nd. Announced so far, I think the concert will be Revenge Rumble, the entire card we're calling it.
Yeah.
So it's Orshi and Peter Hani against Robert Dreisker and Icarus, Metahan, Michael Knight, Bobby Guns, Rambo, and Axel Tischer and the French Adors against Tristan Archer and Rotten Flot. I guess it's going to be main event. So decent looking card there. Guess more stuff will come out after Bielefeld. Then October 23rd, we're in Leipzig. Doesn't look like it's going to be making tape. And then October 30th, we're back at the Fight Club Gelsenkirchen, the WXW Wrestling Academy Live Volume 6. And I guess that too won't be making tape since it's the Academy show. But yeah, you'd think we'd take time off. They had 2 weeks and we're right back at it.
Yeah, and then sort of heading into November, you've got Driver Champions in Frankfurt. End of November, they're in Toronto and London in Canada, and then they're sort of thundering with a few live events in between. They're up towards Oberhausen on the 17th of December for Anniversary,
which is going to have Levaniel and Tristan Archer for the title, which was
for the title.
announced. So, something I missed on night 3. Tristan Archer doing this whole interview segment with Tommy in French. Yay or nay?
Great, that was brilliant. The heckles that were shouted were good though.
And Tommy desperately trying to get back in German. No, only in French.
Yeah.
Don't overdo that. Is a fantastic bit.
Oh, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because it heals him to the Germans because he's speaking French, and also the travelling English, Irish, and rest Anglosphere, shall we say? Sorry, the English speaking fans also don't know what he's saying either. So I was sort of looking around for a French speaker, but there wasn't any this time. So
I know that wrestling catch eyes on Instagram, but he was up in the balcony doing photos. So
yeah, Hal, yeah.
But so that's World Tag Team Festival. A lot of wrestling for the weekend, but all on demand now. So if anything we've said tickles your fancy, wxwnow.com, sign up for the on demand. A whole lot there, a whole lot more coming. And Mike, anything to plug before we drop out this week?
The only thing I've got to plug is there's a new episode of the Groundhoppers Guide on YouTube that came out today. That is up on an Eddie Experience, and then you just type in Groundhoppers Guide and you should find that on YouTube.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter at Ian Wrestling, Big Back Body Drop, Twitter for reviews, photographs on Instagram at Back Body Drop. Mike, you're way more organised. You're at Mike Kilby on everything.
Yeah, I'm at Mike Kilby on everything.
And guess what? I guess we'll be back in probably 2-3 weeks after the next few Wheel of Wrestling shows, unless something major happens. But thanks again, Mike.
Thank you very much.
You've been Fresse, and we will see you in a few weeks' time. Cheers.
See ya.